Hello everyone, Megan here. I just realized recently that I haven't done a haul video in quite some time, and that is probably why I have 18 books to show you today. Well, technically 17, you'll see why in a little bit. The first two books that I have here don't really fit into any category, so I'll just show them individually. The first one I got from a secondhand bookstore here in town, and it is a Healing Crystals and Gemstones Bible. I have been fascinated with crystals for pretty much my entire life, like crystals and gemstones. Like, for example, here's my favorite, rose quartz, and it's just like a composite, like a really good sort of field guide for them. It just talks about their backgrounds, what star sign they are, and how, like, their magical properties. I've been meaning to get one of these for a while, so glad that I finally have one. The next book I have here I am really excited about. I was emailing with one of my favorite artists for fairies, Meredith Delman, talking to her about how much I love her tutorial books, and she suggested this one to me, and I literally went to Amazon. I never do this. I went to Amazon, looked at the book, and just bought it. It wasn't that expensive. So it is called Watercolor Fairy Art by Sarah Burrier. I went through this when I got it at home, and I almost started to cry because it's so good. It's just got all these how-tos for drawing, and like with Meredith Delman's, it tells you what paints to use for each project and talks about paints. And I'm like flipping towards the back, and I notice all of these artists like that she mentions, and here's Meredith Delman, so I can see why she recommended this one to me. The next group of books here are ones that I got from Value Village just over 2 or 3 visits. The first of which is a Nancy Drew story, and it is The Sky Phantom by Carolyn Keene. In this one, there is a mysterious sky phantom, and Nancy is called in, or well, not really, she's taking flying lessons and happens upon it as she normally does in these stories. I read this already last month, and I think I gave it a 3 or a 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. The next book I picked up was The Birds and Other Stories by Daphne du Maurier. I love The Birds. Personally, I am one of the few people I know who actually enjoyed that movie by Hitchcock, and I have never read the short story upon which it was based, and so now I have this collection, and I'm really happy to have it. The next one I picked up was 9 Stories by J.D. Salinger. I already have Franny and Zoe in this sort of edition. I like the simple design. And yeah, I want to read some Salinger. I'm already planning to read Catcher in the Rye. I think it's in March, actually. So in just a few days, I'm going to be reading that one. So I am hoping I like J.D. Salinger. And the last one I found there was pretty exciting, and it is A Great and Terrible Beauty by Libba Bray. I have seen a few booktubers talk about this. I think Lainey from Ginger Reads Lainey mentioned reading this, and I really wanted to get The Diviners by Libba Bray and have that be my first book by her, but whatever. I think these covers are beautiful, and as I understand it, a lot of people like Libba Bray, so we shall see. This next little pile of books here are books I got from Book Outlet from, 2 or 3, actually, I want to say even 3 or 4 trips on Book Outlet. The first of which is Bambi's Children by Felix Salten. This cover is so shiny. Basically, this is the sequel to Bambi that I actually didn't know existed. I read the book last summer and really loved it, and so when I found out that there was a sequel, Bambi's Children, I was really excited and had to pick it up. The next book I got from Book Outlet was To All the Boys I've Loved Before by Jenny Han. This is really exciting because the sequel, P.S. I Still Love You, is due out later on this year, and I'll be excited to read that. But yeah, got it in perfect condition, not very expensive either. And yeah. The next book I picked up from there was All These Things I've Done by Gabrielle Zevin. I had sort of seen this around for years, but never bothered to really find out what it was about. And then Reagan from Peruse Project got it, and she talked about how this is a world where chocolate is contraband, caffeine is illegal, and the city is riddled with crime. And I was like, ooh, I think that I might enjoy this, so this wasn't too expensive either. This is the same author as The Storied Life of A.J. Vickery, which I already have and have yet to read, so I want to find out if Gabrielle Zevin is going to be somebody that I love, because then I might pick up her Memoirs of a Teenage Amnesiac, which Ariel from Ariel Bissett loves. The next book I got from there is really exciting for me as a geek, and it is The Little House Cookbook. I love the Little House on the Prairie series. It's nostalgic for me. It's from my childhood, and so when I found out that it was a cookbook and that it was on Book Outlet, I was like, I have to get this right now. One of my favorite parts of the Little House books is the food that they make. It's a big part of it. The descriptions are just, And so this includes like every recipe from the book, along with passages from which it was mentioned in each book. I'm so excited to use this. Okay, so this next thing is what I called an 18th book, but isn't really a book, I guess. It is this Flower Fairies postcard book. It features these beautiful watercolor illustrations by Cicely Mary Barker. I love her work for fairies. Like, I'm just going to try to find you an example. It's hard to open because it's a little stiff, but yeah, there's one. Like, there's 30 in here, and they're just postcards, but I don't think I'm ever going to use them. I'm probably just going to keep them, and maybe, this is going to be weird, frame them someday, but use them like as inspiration for my watercolors, because I want to get into watercoloring fairies and flowers and all things botanical, like really, really bad. And the next book that I got from there, keeping up with the Little House theme, I suppose, is The Other Side of the Hill by Roger Lee McBride. This is one of the books in the Rose series. The Rose series came after, obviously, the Laura years. I don't know if I mentioned before, but I am trying to track down like every book in the series, from Rose to Laura to her mother Caroline to her mother Charlotte and her mother Martha. There's a lot of books, and the older ones are kind of rare. They're all written by authors. They're all written after the Laura years, but still I want to read them in chronological order. So yeah, I am one step closer with this book. And the last book that I got from Book Outlet, I'm truly excited about. It is Out of the Easy by Ruta Sepetys. This beautiful paperback. It's just purple. It's so lovely. I read this last summer and adored it. This story takes place in 1950 in the French Quarter of New Orleans, and it's about this girl, Josie, whose mother is a prostitute, and so she's just trying to get out of the Big Easy and build a better life for herself and get an education, but she's in her mother's shadow, and it's tough to like break away from that. I really enjoyed this book. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars, and I'm happy to have a copy of my own now. The last group of books I have here with me are ones that are new, like sort of like either they were like found sort of on sale in random places or were given to me as gifts, a couple of them. The first one is this edition of The Picture Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. My sister was in Germany for a time, and while she was there, she visited London, and I asked her to get me a book from a bookstore in London just so that I could say I got this from London. And she brought back this one for me. So it's purchased in London, so it's a UK cover, and I think it's beautiful. I own so little orange books, but this is bright orange, so yeah. The next book I got, I have read already, but I just haven't hauled it. It is The Bookshop Book by Jen Campbell. I actually finished it this month, and so I will be talking about it in my February wrap-up. And I think I have featured it in a couple of videos already, but I'll say again, she traveled to multiple continents to look at many bookshops from around the world. There are over 300 mentioned in the book alone, and there's an index in the back. And anyway, I'll be talking about this more in my wrap-up, but I loved it. The next book I got is a new release that came out in February, and it is The Darkest Part of the Forest by Holly Black. From what I remember about the synopsis, there is this guy who has horns who is on display, sort of like Snow White in a glass coffin, in this village of fairies. And the fairies are nice. I can't remember if the fairies are nice or not, but I believe they're a tourist attraction for humans. Kat from Katie Tastic has read this already, and I know she really, really liked it. And I'm eager to dip my toes into Holly Black because I have been meaning to read the Spiderwick Chronicles by her and Toni DiTerlizzi for some time now, but I understand she writes really good standalones as well, so happy to have this. And the cover is gorgeous. The second last book that I have here is one I've been waiting to have for a long time, and it just came out in paperback, and it is Vicious by V.E. Schwab. So the plot focuses on these two guys who are in college, and they're working on something involving superpowers, and something happens, and one of them goes to jail, and then it shifts to 10 years later, where one of them gets out of jail, and there's betrayal, and yeah, it just looked really good. Katrina from Little Book Owl, absolutely loved it. The cover alone is just, it's really beautiful and intriguing. I've been meaning to read Victoria Schwab for such a long time, and now I have Vicious. The last book I have here is also a very exciting one, and it is All the Bright Places by Jennifer Niven. This just recently came out too, like a couple of months ago, maybe not even, and it is the story of Finch and Violet, a boy and a girl. I believe she is suicidal, and he saves her from jumping over a railing one day or something like that. I have heard it compared to The Fault in Our Stars. It just looks so good. Katrina from Little Book Owl just put up a review on this actually, just after I got it. It's kind of a coincidence, but yeah, she couldn't find words upon first reading it. It was just so mind-blowing for her. And it's pretty thick too. I'm just so excited to read it. There you have it. Those are the books that I amassed since my last haul, so I guess I would call this a January/February book haul. If you have read any of the books that I've just mentioned, please let me know in the comments below because I would love to talk about them. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful week. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I shall see you soon with another video. Bye, everyone.